Welcome everyone to episode 46 of the Phoenix Report. I'm Jack Connor, and with me today is a really cool acoustic duo who I met a couple months ago. A little bit of background on this. Occasionally, when I'm not playing with Vertebraker, my band, occasionally I'll do like an acoustic show here and there, sort of on my own. It's not something I do very often. I mean, depending on how you look at it, it might not necessarily be my forte. Like I've always joked around with people who ask me, like, why don't Jack, you play a little guitar, why don't you play a little bit more in the band? And I'm like, well, I have two guys in my band, Ryan and Greg, who are really good guitar players, and I'm at best a functional guitar player, so that's kind of how that works out. But regardless, I do the occasional acoustic show every now and then on my own. Sometimes I'll throw in some cover songs, sometimes it'll be just like acoustic versions of Vertebraker songs or other bands I've been in over the years. It all kind of depends on what the situation is. Well, anyways, a few times I'd gotten to meet one of my guests today, Billy Floyd. He's one half of this duo, and I was told by a mutual friend of ours, a guy named Barry Nadler, that he was in a band called Black in the Mind, and he had this new acoustic project that he was doing. So that's kind of how I ended up meeting Billy, and then Jay, obviously, was sort of part of his acoustic project, and now they have this really cool project where they go around to different people's kitchens and they will live stream it on Facebook. And they have their own, their own website and everything, and just, they seem to be getting a pretty decent sort of following, sort of around, around the state of Florida at least. And I think it's a really unique, a unique way to play music and to perform in front of people. And the guys in the band and I, we've talked about using Facebook Live and doing different remote streaming stuff. These guys are really doing it, and partially I'm sure it helps because it's just two guys and not five trying to get this thing together. But either way, they're out there doing this, and they're throwing in the food aspect of it, and these guys have a lot of really cool stuff going on. So I think I'll just let them explain it right now. So please welcome to the Phoenix Report, the arsonist Billy Floyd and the Commodore Jay Stevens, the KitchenKillaz.
Hello.
Welcome,
That's
gentlemen.
an awesome introduction, Jack. Thank you very, very much, man. Thank you for the introduction. Thank you for inviting us to be on this. It's always a pleasure to work with not only great speakers, but people that understand the industry. Like you get it. Like,
well, for sure, man. And the one thing I can say about you guys, from playing together as often as we had. I mean, obviously, I was impressed, by you guys because you're both very talented musicians, but what you guys did on stage never really felt pretentious to me. It felt always very down to earth. You guys both have really, really cool, approachable senses of humor, and senses of humor that really tend to match my own. And and I think you guys have a really good rapport with the crowd and with each other, and I think that shows. And especially as an acoustic duo, which is tough to pull off sometimes. Tougher than a lot of people think, but you guys do it very well. So that was one of the things that really I noticed about you guys right away.
well, we've had a pretty long friendship, so we know each other pretty well. That makes it easy to get along, and so we think a lot alike. A lot of our music tastes are the same. We're 90s rock guys, so that's our genre. I think that's why it's working so well so far.
Absolutely.
Yeah, to talk about the kind of like being able to connect with the audience, I think one of the more common kind of unexpected remarks that we've received from some of the live audiences at the KitchenKillaz show is the fact that the show it's off the cuff. There's no script. It's all made up as we go along. So you're getting kind of like a true raw nature of not a built show. It's not programmed. Every single show is different. Every Friday is a different location with new music, new people, new food, and new menu. So we don't even really know what we're getting into until we get to the show. Sometimes we have no idea. So we just try to do our best to play on that live aspect of it. And I think that translates to the stage really well because our main audience when you're on a stage is the live audience, whereas KitchenKillaz, we're kind of performing to two different batches of people. Whoever is receiving it or viewing it through Facebook Live, and then whoever is live in the building itself. So not only are they getting kind of what it would look like on stage, they're also kind of getting an idea of what it would look like from behind the stage.
Absolutely. And I think it definitely provides a unique experience as far as, as far as different ways to consume live music, for lack of a better term, even if you're not there necessarily in the same room with everyone. That's one of the great things about, technology has allowed us to do things like that and to connect on a personal level, even if you're not necessarily in the same room with the audience. It's definitely a step in the right direction.
Yeah, the ability to kind of see the live chat and see people entering into the chat gives us the chance to not only see who's there, but interact with them on a personal level. So if you come into the chat during one of our feeds, if I see, Jack Connor pop in there, I would always engage you. Hey, Jack, what's going on, man? Great to see you. Hey, everybody, this is Jack Connor from Vertebreaker. Make sure you check it out.
You do, absolutely. I mean, I'm unable to sneak in there. You get me every time, really. I try to be more covert with it, but you won't let me, Billy.
I was trying to take on the mantra that I would only say hello to people who said hello to us, because some people do jump into that feed and they try to be a little incognito. They want to be a part of it, but they don't necessarily want to be, kind of like pointed out or brought to the forefront that they're part of the show at that time. But it does kind of give a good basis for surprise and kind of like just an undecided decision. So when you're walking through a circus or like a carnival and you walk past the clown that's sitting in the box with the water, you never know if he's going to say hello to you or make fun of your girlfriend or talk about your kid or your long hair. You never know what that guy's going to do. So it's kind of like when you jump into one of our feeds, it's a lively bunch, bro. It really is. Like, it's a great group to be a part of, but they got a lot of energy and they just love having a good time is really what it comes down to.
But, now, Billy, I know that you've kind of done sort of what I do. I mean, over the last couple of years, you've been in and out of bands for years, and then finally going and doing more of a solo artist thing, which I think is a lot more difficult than people realize, because especially when you're on your own, you're essentially, putting 100% of the work in. And I know you've done a few recordings yourself where you're playing most of the instruments and writing all the songs and producing, and I think that's where you met Jay. And Jay, have you played in other bands before hooking up with Billy?
I was in one band a few years ago. It was actually the first time I was ever in a studio, and I honestly had a blast. We were in there for two solid days, and it wasn't boring. I had an awesome time. I could have done that for a week, solid. But the studio was a good experience. The band was a good experience. It wasn't a very long experience, but an experience nonetheless. But we move on and learn from that. It's kind of the reason I wasn't involved with Billy with music for the first decade of us knowing each other. Is I just wasn't ready to be in anything serious. Like he's obviously a dedicated like music person. Like, this is my life, this is what I do, this is me. And he was definitely in that flow, and I wasn't there. Until he approached me, just a year ago.
Yeah, we actually met. We were working in the same restaurant. We were both bartenders, and that was kind of like where we intersected each other. And to take it back to roots, that's kind of where we learned not only our individual rapport with each other, but our ability to work together and entertain a group of people. We would bartend together, and the restaurant that we were at was a high volume restaurant. So on a Friday or Saturday night, we'd have 2, 3, 4 layers deep of people. And they're not just there to drink and eat food. They're there to be entertained. So Jay and I always kind of had the opportunity, even without music involved, to kind of be put into the position where we had to succeed because our livelihood depended on it, to be able to entertain strangers. So to be able to do that and play off of each other, and then kind of work the crowd, it translated really well to the stage when we found ourselves in exactly the same situation a decade later, but this time with guitars.
Oh, that's cool. So you guys had worked together, and then the last year or so is when you guys have been starting collaborating musically. Is that right?
Yeah, I want to say maybe last November.
That's right.
Not this past November, but the previous November. Actually, no, it was this past November. No,
November.
We're in
November
January.
Of 16.
Yeah, November of 16 is when Jay was like, hey, I want to play some more music. I was like, awesome. And he was like, I'd like to play some covers and make some money. And I was like, sweet. I have an original band that does play covers, but I need a guitarist. And he was like, yeah, let's do that. I said, okay. And at the time, and you kind of hit the nail on the head before, Jack, we were a 5-piece. I lived in Davenport. So I had a drummer and a bassist coming from Oviedo. I had a guitarist that didn't have a ride, so I had to go and pick him up every time. And then I had Jay, who was driving all the way from St. Pete, to meet us. Yeah, Brandon, to meet us in Davenport. So that 5-piece, bringing people together where everybody is traveling, an hour and a half to 2 hours to get to a rehearsal. So we had that for a while, and I wanted to be in Orlando. I didn't want to be in Davenport, or I wanted to be in Orlando just because that's where the scene was. Especially for Florida and Central Florida, Orlando is a great opportunity. I think they're going through a bit of an identity crisis. I think they have musically for quite some time after the big boy band break of 2002. But since then, it's still been a ripe area to move in and meet people that love creativity and support original music. So we had the 5-piece in Davenport, moved it to Orlando. Jay, he left his job, broke his lease, and moved his whole life to Orlando to pour everything into music. So he moved into a friend's house that was just a couple minutes down the road. We talked. I had a spare room. He moved in with me, and that's really where it all started. Then it just started happening on its own, to be honest with you.
Wow, that's incredible. Yeah, no, I mean, because I know, Billy, you had played in bands, for many years. Jay, were you part of Black in the Mind, or was that already over by the time you guys started jamming?
I guess you could say I was part of that.
Technically, project. Yeah. He was part of the Black and Mind House of Blues show.
Okay.
I had a small responsibility of taking the guitar out on stage at a very specific point in the show, which I totally missed.
Botched.
Dartboard hit the wall on that one. So, that was my involvement with Black in the Mind. I really enjoyed their music. Never played with them.
Let's elaborate on this dartboard scenario for a second. Were you like tossing a guitar on stage? Is that what you're talking about?
Oh, the dartboard was a metaphor.
Oh, gotcha.
He missed the dartboard completely.
I didn't even hit the dartboard. It hit the wall.
Yeah, so he had a specific time during a specific song that he was supposed to bring a guitar out for a change out.
Oh, okay.
And he did not come out at that time. He came out at a completely different time.
Gotcha.
So that in front of a sold-out audience at House of Blues, he walked out on stage. Yeah, here's your guitar. And he wasn't supposed to be there. It was awesome.
See, I was just having this image of my head of him like pitching a guitar, like almost in a dart-like fashion.
Oh, that would be terrifying, Jack. Don't even say that. It hurts my heart just thinking about that.
Yeah, I mean that because that would be a risky move. I wouldn't recommend that.
I mean, I've seen some bands do some really crazy stuff, throwing guitars back and forth. They'd have like their guitar tech or their whatever assistant standing off stage left or stage right, and they toss the guitar in the air as the guitarist tosses him one, so they have a change out in midair. Like, I've seen that before, but man, that's crazy.
I remember hearing one story about Chris Novoselic from Nirvana getting like a concussion, from throwing his own bass up in the air at the MTV VMAs back in like '92 or something.
Oh,
remember that?
Man, I had a guitarist do that very thing at AKA Lounge. At the end of the show, he would take his electric guitar off. He would hold it in the air by the machine head, by the neck, the cord that's playing, and he would hold it out to the audience. Then he would pick somebody in the audience and he would throw the guitar to them. So we're playing AKA Lounge, and he misjudged the height of the ceiling. Not only did he do that, but he also forgot to take out his quarter-inch cable. So as he's holding the guitar like over the crowd, and the crowd is playing the guitar, he points at somebody, grabs the guitar, and goes to throw it. Well, first it gets caught on the quarter-inch cable, which shoots the guitar right up into the ceiling, which falls directly down on a girl in the front row. So just before it hits her, the guy behind her grabs the neck of the guitar and stops it and hands it back to Garrett. I looked at Garrett. I'm like, bro, nope, we're done. No more. Like, that cannot happen anymore. That was almost a lawsuit at AKA Lounge. That'd have been bad, Jack.
Yeah, no, I've always been too scared to try anything like that myself, just because knowing my luck, I'm like, okay, something's gonna go flying. Something's gonna hit somebody, and I'm gonna break something, and then I'll have no bass, and I don't know is too risky. Proceed with caution.
Somebody's catching a lawsuit.
Yeah, something's gonna happen. So it rarely ends well. So I don't know.
Oh no, agreed. And that's one of the things that I kind of like about this project specifically is, and better than most, that a load out and a load in, it can be an incredibly crazy experience. You're bringing 5, 6, if you're talking festival, And like you're talking sometimes where you're rolling in dudes after dudes after dudes just packed with equipment, heavy equipment, thousands and thousands of dollars of equipment, and I did that I'm going on 20 years. And I was done. I didn't want to do that anymore. And one of the best things about KitchenKillaz is the way we travel is with 2 acoustic guitars, our cell phone, and 1 stand. And that's it.
Backpack.
Yeah, with 2 small LED lights. We fit everything in a backpack.
You guys could pretty much go set up shop on a street corner right now and do your
Yes,
thing.
absolutely.
All we need is a plug and some Wi-Fi.
Yeah, absolutely.
We don't even really need the Wi-Fi, but
yeah,
it helps.
No. And that's one of the things that I wanted to do is I wanted to have a project where we could step out of the rat race and utilize social media for its true power. And I don't even think we're there yet. We're just getting started, but I think we saw an opportunity. And then it kind of grew and evolved on its own, to be honest with you.
That's where this whole idea started from. It's just the fact that we needed to utilize Facebook Live to just get the music out there. People will be notified. They just see the content, and the content will get better, and the more people will. It caught on just like we wanted it to. But the idea, it certainly evolved. Like, for lack of a better term, it evolved way more than I thought it would.
Yeah, we just wanted to be able to use social media, and we had the idea of playing one song from a random place in the house on a random day during the week. Mm-hmm. And that's kind of how it started. So the first time we played, I think we were in our band room, and the second time we played, we were in kind of like a crafting room. The time after that we played in the bathroom. And then the time after that, we played in the kitchen. And it was a Friday night the first time. No, it was a Wednesday. Was it Wednesday or Friday? I think it was a Friday. It was the first time we did it was on a Friday, and we had over 20 viewers, which was crazy. We didn't understand why we had 20 viewers. And to somebody who had never done this before, 20 was a lot. So we just decided, let's just keep playing until we fall beneath 20 viewers. And it could be 2 songs or 3 songs or 4 songs. We don't know. And the next thing you know, it's been 2.5 hours. We've played through our entire catalog of music, and we're doubling up on songs, and we're still not below 20 viewers. So we were exhausted. I was exhausted, Jack. We wound up doing the same thing the next week, and the same thing happened. We were in the kitchen. One of my friends, Tim Haggard from Polk County, who's also a musician, he was in the feed. And he was telling us that we're killing it. He loves the idea. This is crazy. Like, it's really cool. They're making live requests. We're playing originals. We're playing covers. He says, man, you guys are killing it in the kitchen. You're like the KitchenKillaz. And right away, I was like, oop, in the back of my mind, I'm going to archive that. I'm going to hold on to that one.
The rest is history.
Little by little, now it's become what it's become, and we've been playing every single Friday since August 11th of 2017. We're booked through January. We're almost completely booked through February and March, and we're booking into April now. So it's pretty much we just travel around kitchens. You kind of hit the nail on the head. We travel to kitchens around Florida. We've been invited to 4 different states and 2 different countries. So we're trying to work on building that and learning how to kind of work the logistics to be able to facilitate those shows. But right now, dude, we're just trying to hold on to it and see where it goes.
That's very cool. I didn't really know about all the different traveling that you've been doing. But that's pretty cool that you're able to get some offers like that, and that you're able to get those opportunities, and it's very cool. Because when I first caught wind of what you guys are doing, I wasn't really sure what to make of it. I thought, like, oh, are these guys like real like big foodies or something? Like, it's involving the kitchen. Like, but I mean, obviously you guys are mainly just there playing in the kitchen while there's things going on. I mean, do you guys cook at all, or are you guys foodies?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, man. There's a couple of videos when we first got started, and the reason that we're kind of not doing it now is because we're down a kitchen. But soon. So we would do a show on Monday night for a one and done, a show on Wednesday night, another one and done, and then our normal shows on Fridays. But I cook a lot. I like to cook. Jay and I have both been in the restaurant industry for a really long time. So I find myself cooking for therapy because I just enjoyed it. So we would just go live with whatever we were kind of cooking for the evening. Now, granted, on a Friday night show, we can't cook and play at the same time. I mean, I guess we could, but that's just not necessarily the concept right now.
It'd be a little risky.
It would be a little risky. So it kind of started with our friend Ian incessantly asking us what was in the microwave. It didn't matter what we were doing. He knew there was nothing in the microwave, but he's that guy, and he was always asking what was in the microwave. And then he asked, oh yeah, well, would you guys come to my kitchen? And we said yes. And then we put it out there. We're like, we'll come to all the kitchens. Just let us know. And right away, the invitations started coming in. So then we knew we had an opportunity to build a show. was like, okay, how do we involve the kitchen? I love to cook, but we're playing music. We're trying to stream it. So we kind of made it up as we went along. I was like, okay, how about this? When we go to a host's house, they can cook. They can have friends that they know cook, or if they don't want to do either of those things, we can provide a chef. We can provide somebody to come with us to be able to cook so you can entertain.
Man, Dennis did that one time. He came with us. He's the main chef that we like to take with us. He came with us one time and he was hooked. He had a ball.
Yeah, the mad scientist.
He had a great time. And he did a great job.
Oh yeah, man, he killed it.
Time.
He themes the entire menu around one of the song names, one of the original song names that we have. So he's been with us 5 times. And we have some pretty big shows coming up this year that are already, we have some that are ready to rock and we have some that are in the works. And he's going to be a part of all those big shows. So he is our chef that has right now been traveling with us around the state of Florida. And then building the menu that is then made that night for everybody in the house. So we feature you as the host. For example, if we came to your house, we feature you as the host. We feature your kitchen. Sometimes people have a recipe. Like if you had mom's recipe for chicken cacciatore that you wanted to make. Sometimes people just want to relax and entertain. So we can bring, we bring Dennis. We have a couple other people that we work with as well. We speak with you. We theme the entire menu. We theme the set list. We look into it. We kind of see how the kitchen is set up. We talk to you about it, get everything set up, and then we kind of feature the menu, the people, the party, the family, the community, the kitchen, the music, everything. We do it all live. Of course, we document it as well as we can. And it's kind of like a party inside a party. And one of the big things that most people upgrade the first thing that a lot of people upgrade in their house is the kitchen. It's a central place for gathering. It's where all the food and all the drink and all the fun happens. So why go anywhere else?
That's really cool. I'm definitely envious. Because I know, my skills in the kitchen. I mean, I can boil a mean pot of water, but that's about it.
That's where it starts.
Yeah. So I've got that going for me, which is nice. But that's so cool. I mean, I imagine you guys get all kinds of requests as far as where to go and different places and different situations. What's been one of the strangest requests you guys have gotten so far?
I think Aaron's is still Aaron Flaherty. I think hers is Claremont, the birthday.
The song request or just the event entirely?
I mean, just in general, because you're going around to different people's houses.
Oh, yeah.
We've had some interesting experiences.
Oh, yeah.
I'll put it that way.
Oh, yeah.
Right. That's what I'm driving at.
It's like every crowd is a little different. Every kitchen's a little different. And you never really know what you're going to get yourself into. And this one was for what, Halloween? It was like just before Halloween. Yeah, because Halloween, I think, was that following Tuesday. So this was the Friday before this Halloween. And we were a surprise for the husband, who it was his birthday. His wife reached out to us and was throwing him a surprise party, which he didn't know about. And we showed up that he didn't know was coming, and we put on a live show that he didn't know was happening. And when we got there, he had been partying for quite some time. Oh, yeah. I'll let Jay take it from here because he tells the story way better than I do.
So, we wanted to be respectful of, his birthday, and he didn't invite us. It wasn't his choice for us to be there, so we wanted him to have a good time. And he continued to do so. We had some fun with the mask. They were very camera friendly.
Yeah, there was like Halloween props, like Ghostface from Scream.
Yeah.
That they were just running around with because they were hammered, bro. I mean, hammered.
So this was like a combination surprise birthday party / Halloween gathering.
Yeah.
And this guy probably, wasn't familiar with you guys, didn't really know what was going on.
No
already
idea.
Had a few beverages, and then this is happening. So. And
then this is happening on live on Facebook. Like we're streaming it live. And that's one of the one of the pre-show parts of our conversation is the fact that we have to remind people that we are live. We can't take it back. We can't cut. We can't edit it. We're live. Once it's out there, it's out there. Even if we stop the video and delete it, anybody that's watching has now seen it. So just be mindful of what you say, how you say it, what you do on camera. because there is no take two. And sometimes people forget, they become complacent. So when they're jumping in front of the camera, like you said, give them a couple beverages, man, and people get crazy. So this guy had no idea we were coming. It was his birthday. It was a surprise party. He had no idea any of this was happening. He thought it was just going to be him and his wife by themselves at home. So when he got home from work, he started tying them on quick, bro. Real quick. So when we got there, he was at a 10. He was probably at like a 5 or a 6. And this is a dude that you could tell has been drinking for a long time. So it takes a lot to get him to that level. And he did not slow down, bro. I'd say at the end of the night, he had fallen over willingly 3 times. Once happened right in front of us, which was crazy. Another one happened right on the inside of the sliding glass door. Whoop, and down he goes. And the last one, he dove into the pool, into the shallow end head first. So as we're standing inside, I'm looking outside, and he's sitting in the chair, and somebody's standing in front of him, and they're holding a towel against his head. And his wife, she's such a gem. Like, she's an amazing person. And I was like, hey, I think your boy's bleeding. And she's like, no, he's fine. No, he was not fine. So it was
show's over.
Oh man, let me tell you, bro. She actually looked at us like the show was done. This was maybe a little bit after that. We were packing everything up, and she's like, it's probably best that you go. And we're like, you got it. We're out of here. As soon as we got in the car, Jay was like, what the was that?
I think that was one of the weeks that prompted the letter.
Yep.
I drew up a nice long letter that was a greeting. Thank you for scheduling some time for us to come crash your kitchen.
Yeah.
Blah 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 blah. Here's what we do. Here's how we do it. Here's what we would like for you to know before we even do this.
Yeah, before we show up, just to make sure that everybody understands what's happening, because it's a new concept.
Yeah. And I wanted
a disclaimer.
Exactly. It's exactly what it is.
Just so they know, because it's not like people would intentionally sabotage the show. It's just that they don't realize, just because they're not, like, we're in this environment every week after week after week. We know what's going on. We know what to do. We know how to, they don't get that they're on live camera. So like a lot of different things have to be explained just so everyone gets it and everyone helps make the show a success.
Like the more popular ones are, we don't use any microphones. We don't use any amplification. It's just the acoustic guitars, and the microphone that we use to stream to Facebook is very sensitive. So in between songs, by all means, have fun, yell, carry on, do whatever you want to do. It's no big deal. But during the songs, try to keep it down because the microphone is sensitive. And if there's a party in the background, it'll drown out all the music and the vocals. So that's one of the things that we try to let people know, that during the songs, by all means, just keep it to a low roar. In between the songs, do whatever you want. If you like the song, hoop and holler. If you hated it, throw stuff. Whatever you need to do. But just be mindful of that. Another one is to make sure that people stay off the Wi-Fi. Because what everybody does is everybody jumps on Wi-Fi and everybody streams what we are streaming. So they're like streaming us streaming, and then you have 3, 4, 5 people doing it, and it'll destroy the feed. It'll cut it down. So there's things like that we try to kind of go over. Just to make sure everybody's on the same page and they understand what's going on.
That you just wouldn't think about.
Yeah, you wouldn't think about it, and we didn't even know to tell people these things until we ran into the problems. Like, we had no idea. So now Jay put together a phenomenal kind of like a welcome letter, kind of like a, hey, thank you for booking KitchenKillaz. FYI, this is the structure of the show. This is what we found that kind of makes the show run really smoothly. And we make sure that the host is well aware of what's going on with everything. We talk to them in detail about the menu, make sure everybody is okay, head count, allergies, all that. Sometimes we get preliminary pictures of the kitchen so we know what our stage is going to look like.
Sometimes there's people there that don't want to be on camera.
Yeah, sometimes there's people that don't want to be on camera. They don't want to be acknowledged. There's sometimes that people have no problem with it. So every show is a little different, man. Every show is different, man. We learn every single show. There's something new where we're like, we need to add that to the letter. We need to put that in there. So it's been educational.
And on the other side of that, I think every single week we tweak it just a tiny little bit. Like,
oh,
we did this differently. That worked. Let's try to replicate that.
Yeah.
And I think a recurring theme with a lot of those little tweaks that I talk about is routine. If we routinely do them, the same time or the same week at the same point in the show, or I build the set list a certain way, That's why we're religious with the 9:05 at Friday night, the 7:05 on Monday nights, 7:05 on Wednesday night.
Yeah, so people know they don't have to say, hey, are these guys playing tonight? Is it Friday? Yes, then yes, they're playing. What time are they playing? Is it Friday? Then yes, they're playing, and it's at 9:05.
Every Friday.
Like not 9:04, not 9:06, whatever is going on at 9:05, we go live, even if we're not ready, and that's happened before too.
That was one of the first ones. That was in Leesburg on the way to.
Yeah. I thought Longwood.
That's a lot of commitment to do that like 3 nights a week, every week. Definitely to stick to it. But I mean, kudos to you guys for doing that and sticking with it and really just generating all that content on a weekly basis. It's not easy to do. So I definitely give you guys a lot of props for that. Now, even with all this being said, are you still doing like traditional gigs in bars and clubs and stuff, like, or are you focused mainly on the KitchenKillaz project right now?
Yeah, I mean, like the clubs and bars have been residual of the KitchenKillaz project. So originally, and you know exactly how it is, Jack. I'm sure you did. I don't know if you did the booking for the bands that you were a part of, but my Open was my first band in 2000. Actually, Toaster 12 was my first band in '99. And then Open was 2002, 2003, 2004. I moved from band to band to band, but I was always involved in the booking process. So you know how it is. You're reaching out to venues. You're reaching out to other bands. You're trying to see if you can put a good show together. You get ticket sales. You get marketing. You get advertising. You get merchandise built. You get travel. You get trailers. You do all this stuff just to hit all these venues, which is good. And if you have a really good year, you can play once, maybe twice a month, but you don't want to burn yourself out, so you can't hit your hometown too much. So just doing all the venues and the gigs and just kind of being in that rat race was one of the things that I wanted to put on the back burner and kind of put everything into what we're doing with KitchenKillaz. So Friday has got us to the dance, and Friday is what keeps us here. And with that come the Petrified Forest show that you and I played last time. But again, working with guys like Clint Pinder, working with places like The Haven that you've been playing and I've been playing for the last God knows how long. When they need some musicians, they can reach out, and we have the ability to do it, but it isn't something that we necessarily seek. We don't go after it, but if we do receive a request to rock a live stage, oh, you bet your bottom dollar, bro, we'll be there.
For sure. And you guys do have plenty of original material as well. Have you been doing any recording as the KitchenKillaz and like putting out like EPs under that moniker?
That's been one of the most requested things. So one of the larger shows that we have coming up in 2018. There's still a little red tape we need to get through, but it's what I can say is that it's one of the largest after parties that's going to happen in the state this year. And we've been invited to be a part of it. And one of the things that we want to make sure that we have ready that night is physical, recorded, quality production merchandise. KitchenKillaz, like not full band, just like exactly what Jay and I do now, just to make sure we have a solid professional acoustic recording of it. To be able to sell, to be able to give away, because that's one of the biggest requested things is, do you guys have recorded music yet? And when it really comes down to it, a lot of the songs that we play are songs that I wrote quite some time ago, and songs that I wrote a year ago. And then Jay and I create new music as well, in regards to the original aspect. But yes, that is a current project that is underway right now, is getting ready to put out our first album under the moniker of KitchenKillaz.
That's good to know, man, because, I mean, people kind of laugh at it when I suggest it, but people still, there's still a demand out there for records, either EPs or...
media?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Whether it's, CDs or even download cards or something, just to have something, at least, to have something like that on wax and just able for people to have, and just as a reminder of either a live show or a broadcast or what have you, to have that body of work, is definitely there's still a market for it, man. I believe that.
No, for sure, man. Especially when you talk about the target audience that we try to appeal to. So if you think about the age, like the kind of era that we jumped into music, when you started playing, I started playing, and Jay started playing, physical media was the king. It's what it was. If you wanted an album, you bought the physical CD of it, or you even bought the cassette of it. Everything has kind of moved to a digital stream, but the people that were kids back then that couldn't afford the CDs and cassettes on their own are now adults like you and me and Jay and kind of Calvin, and we can afford the physical media. So to be able to go to a show and pick up a CD and have the band sign it and grab a shirt, to be able to physically hold that tangible item in your hands there's still a high demand for that.
Sorry, my wife walked in there, and she's looking so good, it just completely threw off my train of thought.
Good
answer. That's right. I know you're shaking your head. You know I mean it. Love you, baby.
Answer. Tell her we said hi, and thank you for letting us borrow your husband.
I will.
And we're leaving that part in.
Oh, totally. No, but I mean, in addition to that, not only are you doing these 3 times a week live broadcasts, Billy, I know that from your own personal Facebook profile, you do a lot of broadcasts like almost every morning, like on your way to work, almost sort of like a motivational speaking type thing. Is that something that you guys have been getting into, or been getting requests for that sort of thing?
Kind of. Well, I wouldn't say requests, but I will say when I don't do one, like for example, I didn't do one today. I got several messages from people that usually check in the morning to see if I'm okay. To see what's going on. Hey man, I didn't see your video this morning. Is everything all right? And it's like, yeah, sometimes I just want to chill, drive to work. Sometimes I just want to listen to some tunes with the window down and drive to work. Sometimes I'm inspired to share things. Originally it just started out as therapy. I was going through a pretty hard time, and driving to work, I was really lonely. So I was like, man, I bet I'm not alone. I bet I'm not the only one that feels this way. So I just try to motivate myself and change my state of mind. And I do that through interacting with our community, because it's just full of amazing people. And then suddenly I didn't feel alone, and I felt really inspired by it. So I would have these weird thoughts at 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning. Who knows? Rhode Island is neither a road nor an island. Discuss.
Talk amongst yourselves.
Yes, my man. And then I would, that was just started to be something that I did in the morning for therapy. And then I realized that there are other people that feel the same way, and they were checking in every morning. Then I started getting messages from people like talking to me about some of the things that they heard and how it helped them, or, it gave them inspiration, or it motivated them. And I never thought that would be a byproduct of me just talking to the camera.
That is interesting. Now, for those who aren't familiar with that sort of thing, it's basically, I mean, is there a general theme to what you talk about with these broadcasts, or is it, just sort of general, like, motivational speaking type thing, or just sort of stream of consciousness?
Yeah, I guess I could kind of classify it as like realistic and influenced, controlled motivation. So we determine our own level of involvement when it comes to our future and our ability to manifest what we want in the world. And it's really very simple, but people just kind of overcomplicate it. And I'm guilty of it too. I've done it before. I don't know how many times I've gone home and I was so stressed out about something. But like you said, when you get home now and you see your daughter, all that stuff kind of melts away. And a lot of people don't have that. So when they go home, they take it with them. But when you really think about it, it's such an infinitesimal, frivolous thing to really focus and worry about. So what I try to convey to people is that everybody is so powerful. They're much more stronger than they give themselves credit for, and unfortunately, as much as I would like to say that the world is full of 7.3 billion great people, unfortunately, that's not true. And there's a lot of people out there that aren't so great. And a lot of those great people want to convince you that you're not that great either. And everybody has experienced something like that at some point in their life. So it was interesting to kind of bridge that gap and realize that we joined people from all different walks of life feeling that exact same way, and realizing that a lot of us, we go through the same thing every single day. And it's not what we receive, it's how we react to what we receive. And some things are in our control and some things aren't. I try to take my own advice, to be honest with you, sometimes, and I fail a lot, but it's nice to know that I'm not alone.
For sure. I think that's something that can help a lot of people out there, and I think a lot of people can relate to that. And and I think it's something that we all instinctually know, but it's easy to forget that when you interact or just get caught up in your own daily travails and just bogged down by either by negative situations or negative people or negative relationships, whatever it may be. I think that's something that we all deep down know inside, but sometimes we have a hard time admitting that to ourselves.
Yeah, it's a reminder. We know these things. Sometimes we just need to be reminded that this is what's going on. Like, this is reality. And I think you're right. We get so wrapped up in what we're doing, we forget those simple truths that we can and can't control things in our life. and really the only thing we can control is our reaction to some things, and that's it. And we hold on, people hold on, I hold on. And a lot of it is just letting go of things that we can't really do anything about and focusing on the important things. And then, don't make the bad things good, make the good things great. Let the bad things go.
For sure. And what I enjoy about that is that, you never have struck me as being an overly preachy person or trying to tell people how to live their lives. It's just sort of a general, sort of daily affirmation, for lack of a better term. Apologies to Stuart Smalley. You're good enough, you're smart enough, and doggone it, people like you, Billy, is what I'm trying to say. No, but seriously, I mean, it is a good, a good thing to just kind of put out there in the world, and whether 20 people hear it or 200 people hear it, I think it's a good way to kind of spread positivity to people out there. And I think that's something we all need a little bit more of.
Sure. I mean, and I have to give credit where credit is due. Like throughout my period of doing this, which I think I started this around June or July, I've had several people reach out to me with things that they've gone through, conversations that they've experienced, or life experiences that they wanted to share with me that they thought the people that would tune in to the morning videos could learn something from. So next thing you know, I had people reaching out to me telling me about a relationship they went through, or a job they just lost, or a friend they just got in an argument with, or a family member that just passed away. And they would explain to me their experience because they thought that there was, maybe a small gem in there that if you share it with somebody, they'll be a Me Too person. They'll understand and be able to connect and say, wow, I can apply that to my life. So there are people that reach out to me and they prefer to remain anonymous, but they contribute to the topics of the show sometimes. And I'd say probably about once a week, I use a topic that somebody reached out to me, and it was just a phenomenal topic, and people deserve to hear the story. Because it's good to get that information out there. So again, people realize that we're all kind of going through the same thing.
Segueing that into into your original material, both the songs that you've written, Billy, and the songs that the two of you have written together. How often does that you mentioned these motivational videos? How often does that enter into sort of the subject matter of what you guys write about, or is there a particular theme overall in what you guys write?
Jay?
Well, I suppose there's a couple different methods that we use. I'll comment on the music side. I'm pretty good with just coming up with a simple lick, and I'll just play that a couple thousand times at a very consistent tempo. And I'm sure, Jack, if you play something a couple hundred times, let's say, you'll accidentally hit this, or it'll sound cool here, like, oh, I want to do that again. And then you'll put it into a rhythm, and then it forms into something else, and then you just keep playing and keep playing and keep playing. Oh, this would sound good next. So you play that chord, and then it just kind of builds from there. And so a lot of what I like to do is just do that, but do it 3 different times, but kind of relate all 3 of them. So you get like 3 different phrases, I would say. For instance, verse, chorus, bridge. Let's say, for instance, that's how we wrote Perfect Places. I came to Billy with these 3 different phrases, and we just hashed it out one day. He's like, play that over and over and over again. And he wrote a few lyrics to it, and then we went in. It's like, all right, what's the next part? Play that over and over and over again. So I played that over and over again. He wrote some more lyrics to that, and then he's like, all right, let's play those 2 together, and just kind of built it again from there. But just placing the different parts of those different pieces of the song was the part that we enjoyed doing together as he wrote the lyrics, as a matter of fact.
So just kind of like taking the building blocks that we had and constructing the song to give it good flow and good motion. A good, pretty much, ebb and flow to the music. So it has a solid beginning, middle, and end. And it works really well because Jay understands the theory behind music. Now I will say, although he doesn't have a lot of experience playing in live bands, his experience with music dates all the way back to, how old were you?
5th grade.
5th grade. So he's been involved. I mean, his like uncanny ability to find a harmony before you even sing the melody is amazing to me. And that's one of the things that's of the 2 musical things that he's brought physically, just the vocals itself change the song or let me rephrase that, evolve the song completely and bring it to a brand new level. And that's based on his history and all of his experience, not necessarily in the dark and dank music industry that you and I are interested or, familiar with, Jack, but more of like the church, the singing, the choir, being able to separate 2, 3, 4 different kinds of voices.
Marching band, jazz band.
Yeah.
I'm saying all this stuff I didn't play guitar until I got out of high school. I was actually a trumpet player from 5th grade all the way through high school. I was a trumpet player, and a little bit after high school. But after high school, I picked up the guitar. I was in my friend's little brother's room, and he had this little crappy acoustic guitar. I picked it up, and he showed me 3 or 4 different chords. It happened to be the chords for Green Day's "Good Riddance," "Time of Your Life."
That's a good place to start. I mean, but it makes sense that you were able to pick it up because you had that musical base for a long time since you were a kid. So you're able to make that transition. That makes perfect sense.
Yeah, because I played trumpet in school. I learned very early how to read music, how to read notations, guitar tablature. It just seemed it's kind of second nature to me, and it's weird that like not everybody has that knowledge, and I find more and more that it's rare.
For sure. Yeah, a lot of guys definitely don't have that. As far as the theory side of it, it's also something that not a lot of people mention. The vocals you guys trade back and forth on. Jay, that makes a lot of sense from years of playing a trumpet. Is that you learn how to control your breathing, and that really explains why you guys' vocals are what they are. I mean, your voices blend with each other very, very well, and knowing where to come in with those harmonies, I think that makes a huge difference.
Well, I'll comment on that. It was actually before that, well before the trumpet. I went to church all the time. My parents insisted that I go to church, twice on Sunday and once on Wednesday night. For pretty much my entire life up until about 18 when I moved out of the house. So they only sang hymns there. It was always, a bass, tenor, alto, and soprano part.
Were you in the choir?
No, there wasn't a choir per se. It was just the congregation that sang.
Oh, okay.
So, but there was always 4 different parts, and I could always, just because of that, and I could read music, so I can just look at the book and sing any one of those lines, and I just learned from just singing in church because Mom always wanted me to sing. So that's actually how I learned the harmonies, and how to pick them out. The other part of that is just being able to listen to something and apply it like in a mainstream way, like how it would sound, like not as a hymn from a couple hundred years ago, you know what I mean? But still applying it in a fundamentally proper way, You're
both capable singers, and both your voices have a really good blend together. Do you both sort of collaborate on lyrics, or I know Billy does a bulk of the singing lead. Jay, have you taken the lead on any songs that you guys have written together?
That is a negative, Mr. Jack. That is a negative. I've only taken my writing as far as music so far. Not a lyrics guy as of yet. Billy pretty much has that covered.
That was like working with Jay so closely was one of my first experiences with working with somebody I'm powered by lyrics and he's powered by music. So a lot of the songs that we would listen to, even though he could play it note for note and he knew exactly what the words were, he never really put a lot of weight on the lyrics themselves. So whereas I lean on the lyrics heavily, he leans on the music heavily, which I think is one of the coolest dichotomies that actually allows us to create what we're able to create so fluidly.
Like, my focus is so much on the music. Even if I know all the lyrics to a song, you could be like, "Oh, you know all the lyrics to that song. What's that song about?" I'm like, "I have no idea." It's just like I think of it as just like another instrument, just another sound that's happening along with all the other instruments.
For sure. I would almost argue that you don't always necessarily have to know what a song's about to enjoy it.
Agreed. It's a lot. I mean, a lot of it is definitely interpretational, but you could take the lyrics out and just kind of like what Jay said. If the vocals were just notes, that they weren't words, like there's still a lot of. I mean, you can think of any song that doesn't have any lyrics in it, and it's able to translate so much emotion.
Well, I mean, melody is a big part of it as well.
Oh yeah, big time. Big time.
Sure. All right. Well, with that said, Billy, as far as lyrics, I know you put a lot of weight behind lyrics. Is there a particular is there a particular subject matter you tend to focus more on, or is it just about whatever happens to be in your head at the time, or whatever fits the music? I know some guys have a particular approach towards what they write about, or they lean in a certain direction. Do you have a preference either way as far as lyrical content?
I think when it really comes to lyrical content, I kind of let the song write itself. I base it on the emotion that's created by the music. So there are very few songs that I've started with lyrics and then created music. Most of it start with music, and then I kind of match the emotion that the music is creating that makes me feel to the story content. I feel that they kind of have to go really well with each other. To have the emotional content match with the vocal melody, and then the lyrics to have that match the emotion that the music itself makes somebody feel by listening to it. So a lot of times I try to gear it to what the music is kind of telling me. And then I just listen to what the music is telling me, and I just talk about it. A lot of times it gets geared toward a couple different things. Sometimes I sing about, completely inanimate objects. Like I have a song called The Prince of Light, which is a fight between the light and the dark. And pretty much I have to make a decision in that song of who I'm going to support, and I'm watching them fight each other. And that, sometimes it's about love. Most of the time it's about some type of conflict. The song Perfect Places, is one of the things where I'm talking about ignorance. I'm talking about our ability to convince ourselves that we live in this perfect place, and we define it as a perfect place. But when we really sit down and think about it, we've completely manifested this fake kind of shell that we display to the world. And it's time to question that shell and really get down to the brass tacks of it and find out if this is the actual perfect place that we are claiming that it is. Emotionally, mentally, metaphorically, spiritually, all that. And to be able to challenge it on a multifaceted realm like that kind of takes it into kind of like Inception of Inception.
I was about to say, it sounds a little militant. I thought we were caught in the Matrix for a second there. I don't know.
A lot of it is about love. My Reality Baby was an album that pretty much was a timetable of me going through heartbreak that I had experienced. And it kind of saved my life. So it really depends. A song that I have called Wasting Time was about an ex-band member who was extremely talented, but he had no drive. He wanted the success of being a rock star, but he didn't want to work for it. And it was really frustrating to me because I didn't have the courage to fire him. He should have walked away. And to a degree, when I look back on it, yes, I should have let him go, but I had so much faith in him. I knew he was a phenomenal musician. I knew he could do a great job. But in the end, he just lacked the drive. And I had written this song about moving forward. If you claim that you're going to take responsibility for something and you really never intend to do it, you're wasting my time, and do not do that. Don't waste my time. I'm not going to waste your time. Don't waste my time. And if you do waste my time, I'm going to call you out for it. And in the music industry, as you've probably experienced, there's a lot of people just like that.
Yeah, I mean, I've been on all sides of it. I've been guilty of that, and I've been on the other side of it as well. So it's it definitely happens for sure. But this is cool, man. So I mean, and even going back to your own influences earlier on, you mentioned that you guys were really into like 90s rock. Would that be sort of a good description for like the sound that you guys create together? It's definitely like 90s alternative influenced?
I mean, from my perspective, I started playing music in 97 and 98. So that's when I picked up a guitar for the first time, and whatever was on the radio, was kind of what I was connected to. So yeah, late 90s rock is kind of where I started playing music.
My musical influences went from obviously the church hymns, to country music, which Mom always played in the car. A little bit of, Journey and the Eagles, from Dad. And then, high school, I found rap. That was right around, Tupac and Biggie and, DMX. Outkast was brand new. That was when I discovered rap. Put some big old subwoofers in the back of my car for high school. Awesome.
Hell yeah.
Then after high school, when I started playing guitar, I found, rock music by way of, Incubus. Still my favorite band, of all time. Incubus. I was walking through a Target, watching Target TV. I was wandering through the, CD aisles because I was looking for a CD. I was like, I want to buy a CD. I want some new music today. And I looked up and the, video for Pardon Me was playing on Target TV. I was like, I really like that song. Where's that album? I want it. So I picked it up. I looked at it and it's like, oh, there's this hit, and this hit. I'm like, oh, well, that sounds nice. I bought it.
That sounds nice.
I bought it and,
Let's do that.
I probably didn't listen to it more than a couple times, the first year that I had it. But, I think it was Drive that came out. It wasn't the first release from the album, but Drive came out and I was like, I'm going to look at this album again. Then I listened to it front to back and I was like, this album is the best ever. To the extent that I actually went and bought the Hal Leonard published, sheet music / guitar tablature for the entire album. So that I could learn every single song exactly how Mike Eisinger plays it. And I did just that. I started with Drive and then I learned every other song after that. And, that's really how I started playing guitar. After that, I would just learn every song that sounded kind of cool on acoustic guitar, but never really playing for anybody. I never played any shows. I didn't play for people. Maybe a couple girlfriends, that really did wonders for girlfriends.
How do you think Jack got his wife?
Amen, brother. Amen.
It's actually a long story. She actually wants nothing to do with my music, but that's a long.
Oh my god.
Oh no. Oh no.
I mean, I'll tell you guys one story. She was she was coming to see a band I was in, and not really being familiar with just not a lot of hard rock stuff at all. I mean, she. Like, I remember when I first met her, she was like, oh, well, I've listened to, like, Styx and Meatloaf and stuff. I'm like, all right, that's a start. That's a way in. I can work with that. But, like, she would come to see one of my bands, and she would, come with one of her girlfriends, and she was real nervous. She was like, she had this look on her face like, Jack, are people going to, like, jump around and scream at me at these bars? Like, what's going to happen? And I just looked her straight in the eye. I'm like, well, I mean, I'm going to jump around and scream at you, but I don't know about anyone else. So that was something. No, I do kid, Mo. My wife is very supportive. She's definitely not with me because of the music though. So I don't know if that's a good thing or not. So
that's awesome.
We'll see.
No, I actually think that's when it comes to relationships, I think that's a pretty good thing. How it is, man. In the music industry, when you're having fun and you're moving forward, you get a lot of people that you're good friends. A lot of people want a lot to do with you. They want to be close to you. And sometimes that includes girls and women and guys to women and vice versa. So I think it's kind of refreshing that her attraction to you isn't based on the fact that you're a lead singer on stage, which can lead to an unhealthy relationship. In this aspect, it's about who you are as a person, as Jack, not about you being a lead singer of Vertebraker at Hard Rock.
For sure. I mean, now, granted, it would have been nice if that did get me laid a couple of times before I met her, but, that never really panned out with my music career. But what are you going to do? I digress. But obviously Incubus was really your way in, Jay, and I know, Billy, you were very much attracted to similar bands like that, so it's kind of cool that, you guys have, I almost hear almost like Beatles and Simon and Garfunkel in there as well, as in terms of like having the blend of those voices in addition to sort of those ambient guitar sounds.
Nice. That's awesome, dude. That's a wonderful compliment.
Absolutely. So with that in mind, KitchenKillaz.com is the website. I'll definitely spell it out. Where else can they follow you guys on social media?
Yeah, the best place to go is kitchenkillaz.com has all of our social media icons and links on it. You can go to facebook.com/kitchenkillaz, and that's KILLAZ, to throw us a like on there. That helps us kind of proliferate the brand. We stream every Monday and Wednesday at 7:05 p.m. and every Friday at 9:05 from facebook.com/BillyFloydMusic. Facebook is really interesting when it comes to the algorithms that it uses to build you a crowd. Of course, with a fan page, they want a lot of money for very little. But with a personal profile, they actually will build you an audience. So we're trying to utilize that as much as possible until we can build up the following on Kitchen Killaz page and begin streaming from there.
And now, as I understand, you guys said you wanted to play a little bit before we closed up here. So.
Oh yeah, man. I mean, if that would be okay, I don't necessarily know the natural convention that you follow on your shows, but we've been talking about music for the last hour and the music that we play and write. So we figured, why don't we play a song that we wrote?
I mean, if you guys have your axes on it and you want to rock it for a little bit, I'm totally cool with that.
Yeah, man, at all times. They're always here. I know how it is. I'm sure you have two guitars within arm's reach.
This is cool. This is a first for my show. Like, I have an actual guest, like, actually, play a little bit on it. So whenever you're ready. Guys, this is the Kitchen Killaz here on the Phoenix Report. What are you guys going to be playing?
Sweet, man. This is called Drift Slide Collide. This is from Colonel's original recipe. So my name is Billy Floyd, and that is Commodore. And we're the Kitchen Killaz from Orlando, Florida. Thanks, guys.
All right. Take it away, boys.
As shadows run in circles, silhouetting as they pass me by on the wall that's prancing ponies, only drifting through this 2D life. Won't you take my hand and trust me? Won't you leap from pain and touch my floor? There's some space right beside me. I could be just what you're looking for. As we drift, slide, collide, explode to something undiscovered, something that could lead my world to love. Slide, collide to something special. I might join you in your painting if you join me in my 3D world. I'll run up in horizontal. If you would be my 3D girl, as we drift, slide, collide, explode to something unpredictable, something that could lead my world to love. Slide, collide, from mountains with rivers running rapid, like waterfalls. I'm coming home to you. Slide, collide, explode to something unpredictable, something that could lead my world to love. Slide, collide to something special. Collide to something special. Slide, collide to something special. Something that could lead my world to love. Slide, collide Go mountains with rivers running rapid, like waterfalls. I'm coming home to you, to you, to you. Slide, glide, explode to something I've discovered, something that could lead my world to love. Slide, glide, go mountains with rivers running rapid, like waterfalls. I'm coming home to you. Slide, glide, explode to something unpredictable, something that could lead my world to love. Slide, glide, to something special. Glide to something special. Oh, 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 as we drift, slide, glide, something special.
Thank you so much to Billy Floyd and the Commodore, Jay Stevens of the KitchenKillaz, for coming on my show, having a nice chat with us, and then playing one of their songs, Drift, Slide, Collide. Really cool song. Those are very talented, very funny guys. Definitely check out the KitchenKillaz Facebook profile and all their other social media. I'll have links to that in the description. As far as upcoming events, this Saturday I will be doing a short acoustic appearance at the Shovelhead Lounge in Longwood, Florida. I will be there along with a few other acts and different bands, including Gunshy, On and Beyond, Dylan Matthews and the Flips, Swift Knuckle Solution, and Lonely Ronin. So, I just booked this show, so it's very short notice, but if you're in the area, definitely come on out. Longwood is about, northeastern part of Orlando, so those of you in the area, hope to see you there. Like I said, it should be a good warm-up to my next solo acoustic show, which is going to be on Saturday, February 10th at Winfields in Satellite Beach, all the way on the east coast of Florida. I will be there along with Justin Weir of 21 to Burn, Dominic St. Charles of Earn, and headlining the show is John Corabi, the former lead singer of Motley Crue, former guitar player for Rat, current singer of the Dead Daisies. This is a really huge opportunity to play with a guy like John Corabi is huge. So definitely come on out for that. And the next Vertebreaker show will be on Saturday, March 3rd at the Shady Oaks Lounge in Palm Bay. We will be there along with Red Calling, Crowfly, and a band that is going to be on my next podcast, Gold, Frankincense, and Myrrh. So they will be on my next episode. Definitely check that out. I'm going to be posting that soon. I just recorded that over the weekend. So my next interview will be with Gold, Frankincense, and Myrrh. Really talented band out of Jacksonville. And in the meantime, that is it. Make sure you follow me on Twitter at JackXConnor. Like me on Facebook at facebook.com/JackConnorMusic. Feel free to check out my band, Vertebreaker, at facebook.com/VertebreakerBand. And if you have any questions, comments, or suggestions, make sure you email me at jackconnorpodcast@gmail.com or tweet me with the hashtag Phoenix Report. If you're listening to this on YouTube or iTunes, make sure you subscribe, leave a comment, go back and listen to all the other episodes, leave a good review if you can. Whatever you want to do. I'm looking forward to hearing your feedback. I want to try and make this show as great as it can be. And I can only do that with your input. So that is it for this episode of the Phoenix Report. My name is Jack Connor. I will see you later. Bye-bye.